Hi, welcome to this video, which is the third in a whole series that I'm making for people who are getting ready to go to their very first 10-day Vipassana course as taught by SN Goenka. In this video, I'm going to just share with you a whole bunch of random stuff that I thought might be helpful for you to know before you go. And this is just based on my own personal experience with the course. I took the course 4 times. It was once a year for 4 years in a row, and it was before the COVID-19 pandemic. So there might be some things in this video that might not apply anymore because the way they run the course now is a little different because they want everyone to be safe. Like, they have to make sure that everything is done safely, because we still have this pandemic going on. So here's some things. I have a little list over here. I'm going to be looking back and forth. All right. The first thing that I thought would be useful is to just let you know, when you sit down to meditate, your mind is going to wander before you bring it back to your meditation. It's normal. It's part of the practice. Part of the practice is continuously bringing your mind back to what you're focused on. But your mind's going to go all kinds of crazy places. And for me, for my very first course, there were things that I was seeing around me that I didn't understand, just because I didn't know much about how the course was actually run and who were the people behind the scenes working to make it happen. So as I was there for the first few days observing these things around me, in my meditation, my mind kept wandering to, like, who's that? Why is that happening? What's the deal with that? What's that thing over there? So I'm just going to explain some basic things to you so that you know. So this will hopefully save you from those particular distractions. Okay, so I went to the first course excited to learn Vipassana meditation. So I was very surprised when on day 1 they start teaching Anapana meditation. I'm like, what's this Anapana stuff? I'm here to learn Vipassana. And then I find out that for the first 3 days of the course, or maybe it's like 2.5 days, I can't remember at this point because it's been a while, but for the first, let's say 2.5 to 3 days, all you're doing is Anapana meditation. And then they start teaching you Vipassana. So I was surprised by this, and I was a little annoyed because I wasn't prepared for it. But now, of course, I understand why they do it. They teach you Anapana meditation first because that technique helps you sharpen your mental focus. And when you've done that for a few days, your mind is then sharp enough to be able to go deeper so that you can start the Vipassana practice. So this might sound weird because in these videos I'm not talking at all about the Vipassana technique or the steps that you go through in the process, because that's what the course is for. The proper way to learn that Vipassana meditation is to take the 10-day course. I'm just going to say that the first 3 days is Anapana meditation, which is very simple and it's necessary. And then after you do the Anapana, then you start learning Vipassana. And once you're there on the course, it will all become clear to you. The next thing I want to tell you about is the people that run the course. Okay, here's how the whole thing is set up. As you know by now, because you've probably already registered for your course, it's free of charge. It's free because all the people who are operating the course are volunteers. The main teacher, the head teacher, so to speak, is SN Goenka, and he teaches the course through audio recordings and videos. He died, I don't know what year he died, but before he died, he recorded all of these lessons so that every student receives the same exact instruction. So no matter which meditation center you're in, no matter which country on the planet you're in, if you're in a Vipassana meditation hall taking the 10-day course, you are receiving the same exact instruction that everyone else is receiving. These recordings are in English, but there are translations available for many other languages. So you might see people there in the meditation hall with headphones on and an MP3 player. That's because I don't speak your language. So when you go into the meditation hall, you're hearing Goenka through the speakers. But then you have an assistant teacher who's like a live flesh and blood person who's sitting in the front of the room, and they're there to answer any questions you might have. They observe you. And every 2 or 3 days, the assistant teacher is going to call small groups of people up to the front of the room during certain points of the day to just check in with you to make sure you're doing it right, to see if you have any questions. And then you like spend a few minutes together in meditation. And this happens, like I said, every 2 or 3 days. So you have Goenka as the main teacher, then you have the assistant teacher who is there, then you have the course manager. The course manager is there for, logistical reasons. And if you have any questions or problems, or like anything that's coming up that's really getting in the way of your practice, or if you need extra support for anything, you can go to that course manager. I should mention at this point that I forgot to say this in the beginning. When you first go to the course, in the very beginning, they call it day 0, like before the course starts on day 1. It's the day when you show up on day 0, you get your room assigned to you, you unpack. There's an orientation session, and the course managers go through the whole, like a traditional orientation where they talk to you about how the course is run. You can ask your questions, everyone can talk at that point. Noble silence has not started, but when the course does begin, the men and women are separated. So the men and women have separate dining halls, separate sleeping quarters, and they have their own designated half of the meditation hall. So the meditation hall, at least where I went, was like a big long rectangle, and the students enter from the back of the room, and they're seated in rows from back to front. The more experienced student you are, the closer to the front of the room you sit. So if it's your first time, you're going to be seated toward the back. And then, so let's say here's the front of the room. Now you have the women here, the men here. Then the assistant teacher sits in front. So you have a male and female assistant teacher. And then you have the course manager. There might be 1 or 2 or 3 of these. They sit on the side. There's like a rectangular section of seats on the side. So you have short rows of seats on the side here. And then you have these mysterious people. This distracted me the first couple of days. These other people who are coming in and out of the hall from this entrance on the side of the room, not from the back of the room where all the students come through. And they would come in and sit behind the course manager. And sometimes they would come in halfway through the session. Sometimes they would come in like a few minutes late. Sometimes they would leave before the end. And they were just like coming and going at all different times, sitting down, meditating, getting up, leaving. I'm like, who are those people? What? I was just like curious, because I could hear like the door open. I could hear them coming in. I'd be meditating. I'd like open my eyes, watch them sit down. And I'm like, who's that? And then I'd close my eyes again, go back into my focused meditation. Turns out those are the volunteers that work for you to make sure that you have food, that the place is clean. They assist the course managers and the assistant teachers. They're called Dhamma workers. So they're Dhamma workers or volunteers. That's who they are. And after you complete your first course, you will be considered an old student, no longer a new student. And as an old student, you will have the ability to volunteer to be a Dhamma worker. Actually, I'm not sure if you have to complete a certain number of courses before you can volunteer. So maybe there's rules about that. But at some point when you're an old student, you can volunteer to be a Dhamma worker. So these are the people that are getting up earlier than you are to make sure they're cooking your breakfast, they're serving the food, cleaning up every day, and they're working very hard for you to have this wonderful experience. If you are pregnant, can you still take the course? Yes. I have seen women take the course who look like they're ready to give birth any minute. And it's astounding to me how still they sat. I've seen some pregnant women very experienced students. They're like sitting in the front row, totally pregnant, ready to burst. And they're sitting like totally statuesque, not moving an inch the whole time. There was one woman I saw, she didn't have any extra cushions. She just sat down on the floor cushion. She had her legs folded, like cross-legged, perfectly upright, straight back, still as a rock the whole time. It was amazing. So yeah, you can still take the course. What happens is, if like normally you don't get a supper, you don't get dinner, there's just a tea break with some fruit if you want for the first time students. And then if you're an old student, you can have tea but no fruit. But if you're pregnant, or if you have a certain medical condition, if you have like medical need for an actual meal, then you can arrange ahead of time with the meditation center to have a meal. So what happens is there's containers available to you at lunchtime, and you just pack up food from lunch and you label it with your name. They have like masking tape and a marker or something. That's how they did it at the place where I go. And you pack up your own dinner and you put it in the refrigerator, and then during the tea break you get your food and you can eat it, and they had microwaves to warm it up. So you know, if you have a need, you can make sure that need is met. If you have also like certain allergies or medically necessary, like if you have a medical need to be able to eat certain things or not eat other things, you can make sure that it's all arranged ahead of time through the meditation center. I think there's a spot on the registration form when you're actually applying for the course to communicate all of that with them. But if you have any concerns, you can just call them up and make sure that's all squared away. Okay, a little bit more about how this can be offered to you for free. It's all based on donation and volunteer work. So once you complete the course, you are considered an old student, and then you have the ability to make a financial donation at any time you want. I believe there's a place on the website where you can do that. I don't think they accept, gosh, I should have checked before I recorded this video. I think they don't accept donations from anyone unless they've completed the course and are an old student. I might be wrong about that. But in any case, on the very last day of the course, if you want to give a financial donation right then and there, you can. What I used to do is, the last time I took the course was, gosh, it was a little while ago. I didn't yet have Venmo or the Cash App or anything. I was very old-fashioned with my technology. So I used to bring a check ahead of time. Like I would pack a check and hand it to them on the last day. And there were a couple times when I brought a cash donation, like I had it ready to go to just hand them cash on the last day. But you don't have to give a donation, and there will be absolutely zero pressure for you to give a donation. It's all if you want to. It's all from your own heart, of your own volition. If you desire to contribute, then you can. And you can as much as you want, as frequently as you want. But nobody's going to be pressuring you or using any kind of manipulation tactics to get money out of you. It's just if you want to give, you can. And this is how the course is able to be able to run. There are enough people donating money and their time and their talents to operate these meditation centers and put on the courses. So that's really nice, I think. Okay, another thing to know before you go is that if you end up doing this course a second time or a third time or a fourth time, I mean, there are people who do this a lot. I met a woman who did it 16 times, and I met another woman who did it 30 times. I think 30 or 40. It's a lot. But I've done it 4 times. 4 times so far. And every single time was very different. Every experience was different. Even though you're taking the same course, the same teachings, the same procedure, the same schedule. You might be going back to the same place, it's the same food. it's all totally different, because this work is done inside your mind. And every time you go, you're bringing a different self there, because you are the product of all that you've experienced in the past. And every time you do this work, the things that come up to the surface of your mind are the things that need to come up at that time. So you might have, I'm bringing this up because if you go the first time, for your first time, let's say you go there and let's say you have a horrible experience. Let's say you hate it, you're bored, you're physically uncomfortable, you don't like the things that you have to deal with that are coming up to the surface of your mind. Maybe you can't sleep well, maybe you have nightmares, who knows. Let's say you have like the worst possible experience ever, and you say to yourself, this sucks, fuck this shit, I'm never coming back, I'm never doing this again. I'm here to tell you, maybe try to go back again later another time, because it can be, you can go back a second time and have a blissful experience. You can have, it's so unique and it's so different every time. In fact, I'm going to make a video, I don't know what it's going to be called yet, but just look through the other videos in this playlist to see. It's going to be a video specifically about how different each of my experiences was. So I'll describe what it was like the first time, the second time, the third time, the fourth time. And really, the amazing thing about this work is that when you're in the middle of the course, you're putting forth all this effort, you're changing your mind, you're changing your psyche, and the changes that happen have this outward ripple effect in your life. But because you're not out there in your regular life, you're in this meditation center in solitude, you don't know what the changes really are until later. So you could be at the course having a miserable time, not thinking you're doing anything, not thinking that you're making any changes in your mind, but then you go home and maybe like a week later you find yourself in a certain situation and you observe yourself responding to that situation radically differently than you would have in the past. And you observe that you have changed. You observe yourself behaving differently, having different reactions, having a different composure, having a different attitude. These changes reveal themselves to you over time. And when that happens, it feels like magic. It's so cool. All right, another thing to know before you go is that there is a code of discipline and there are rules. These rules and this tradition come from a very different culture than we have in the United States and from a long time ago. And we're changing very rapidly as a society now. And you might not understand why they've decided to keep all these rules in place. They might seem rigid to you. They might seem unnecessary. You might not like them. I'm bringing this up just because I believe that it's important to honor all the rules and the code of discipline, even if you don't understand it. There's a lot of reasons for this, but mainly, it's nice to be considerate of all the people around you. There are a lot of people on waiting lists who are trying to get into a course because there's only so many spots, especially now after COVID-19. I think that some of the meditation centers aren't able to take as many students for each course as they would normally take. So maybe the waiting lists are even longer. And there are some people on the course, other students there with you, who might have had to wait a very long time before they were able to take all the time out of their lives to be here and take the course. So just be considerate of the people around you. If you're deciding to break the rules, you might be causing a distraction to the other people and making it even more challenging for them to stay focused on their process, and you're making it more difficult for them to gain all the benefits from the course. So, try to think about the people around you. Also think about the fact that this is a free thing. It's an amazing service. People are volunteering their time. The volunteers are getting up earlier than you are. You're already getting up at 4 a.m. They're up at 3 probably, cooking your breakfast and stuff. So, just keep all that in mind. And if, let's say you go there and you're having a horrible time, and you're tempted to act out a bit because maybe you're suffering a bit, maybe you're having a really hard time and you don't think what you're doing is making any difference, maybe you're not used to being patient and considerate. Before you allow yourself to act out in a way that will be disruptive to the group, hopefully you'll be able to pause and remember that you went there with the intention of seeing it through, knowing that these rules are in place, knowing that it's going to take self-discipline, and knowing that it's temporary. Whatever discomfort you're experiencing now, it is temporary. And like I said, the benefits won't show up to you until you've reached the other side of it. So give it a chance, give it your all, give it your best effort, and just hang in there. And please follow all the rules and just have respect for this tradition. Because if you do go there and you end up breaking the rules and being a distraction to the other people, not only are you making it more difficult for them, but you are robbing yourself of the chance to gain all the benefits. I mean, it might be that this might be the only time in your whole life that you're ever going to give this a shot. I mean, there are a lot of people who do this course, they do it once and they never do it again, but they still get some benefit from it. But, I guess I'm starting to ramble a little bit. I just want to encourage you to please be considerate. Please follow all the rules, even if you don't understand them, because it's for your benefit and it's for the benefit of the people around you, and it's the right thing to do. But if you are having any problems, go to your course manager. Those course managers are very experienced. They've been around the block, so to speak. They are experienced at helping people through this. They're there to support you. You might be having a challenge that you don't think there's any solution to, but they might know of a way to help you through it. They might have experience in that particular area. So don't be shy. Go to your course manager, even if it's something that you might be embarrassed about, or even if it's something that you might think is not worth taking up their time. It's worth it. They're there for you. This is their role, to support you and to make sure that everything goes smoothly. So take advantage of all of that. And also remember, if you're having challenges with the technique, or you're not understanding something and you want some more clarity or understanding, you can sign up for a one-on-one interview with the teacher every day. It's in the timetable. What time? Let's see. Interviews with the teacher. 12 o'clock noon to 1 o'clock. Rest and interviews with the teacher. That's the time when you can sign up for a spot for 5 or 10 minutes, one-on-one, where you can talk to the assistant teacher and, get some support. So if you're struggling, use the resources available to you before you let yourself get to the point where you're either going to be disruptive to the people around you or cut out early. You just don't rob yourself of the opportunity in front of you. You probably have seen on YouTube, there are tons of videos of people who have taken this course, and then they come back and they share their experience, and they talk about how they've changed as a result, how wonderful it was, how much they're glad they persevered, and now they're encouraging you to go and take the course. So I guess that's what I'm doing now. I'm encouraging you to go, give it your all, and it's really worth it. All right, I mentioned this in one of the other videos, but I'll mention it here again because it is good to know before you go. If you're concerned about getting up so early and starting your meditation, you see the timetable. It has a 4 a.m. wake up bell, and then 4:30 to 6:30 meditation. This is really up to you. You will choose. You will choose. You get to choose if you're going to meditate or not. If you're going to stay in bed and sleep, you can do that. No one's going to make sure that you're out of bed. No one's going to make sure you're meditating. You are your own master during those 2 hours. This is something that I'll talk about more in another video. I really had a hard time with this the first course. I think I only got up 1 of those days or 2 of those days and meditated. The rest of the time I slept straight through. until breakfast break. And breakfast is from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. So there were times when I stayed in bed until like, I think I cut it pretty close, just like probably 7:30, getting out of bed at 7:30 and grabbing some breakfast before the group meditation in the hall at 8 o'clock. And then when I went back for my second course, I had set a goal for myself to get up and do the meditation every morning. And I was sort of successful. I did it like about half the time, I think. And then I went back for my third course. I said, okay, my goal this time is to do it every day and see if I can get better. So I'm just mentioning this to you because if you're letting that be the deciding factor on whether you take the course or don't take the course, please don't let that get in the way. Because really, you don't absolutely have to get up that early and meditate. But I will say this, the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. And every hour you spend in meditation, every minute you spend in meditation going deeper and deeper is another minute or hour that you're affecting great change within yourself. So just do the best you can and be satisfied with your effort. Okay, the very last thing I'm going to mention for this Know Before You Go video is about your personal possessions. There are plenty of people who go and take this course and then they have scheduled extra days off after it's over to like maybe go to another location, have a little mini vacation before they go back to their normal life or whatever. So you arrive at this course, you're supposed to give them your valuables and they'll lock them up to keep them safe for you. Like if you have a tablet or a laptop or like maybe camera equipment, your wallet, your car keys, your cell phone, you're going to go there during the first day of registration. You do the paperwork and they're going to ask you to give them your stuff. And they are not, I mentioned this for a couple of reasons. First, let's talk about safety. There's no locks on the doors in the sleeping quarters. So you'll have a bedroom, but there's no lock on the door. So when you're in the meditation hall, if there was some person who wants to steal your stuff, they can go into your room and take your stuff. There's nothing really keeping your stuff safe. But you can give them to the people running the course and they'll lock them up. The system that they used at the place where I went in Massachusetts was pretty cool. They had a big file cabinet and the drawers of the cabinet were full of these big heavy-duty pouches with zippers, and on the pouch there was a number and they had a sign-up sheet, and every line on the sign-up sheet had a number that corresponded to the pouch, and you would sign in with your name and you would list out all the items that you're putting in the pouch, and then they zip it up and they lock up the cabinet for the whole course. And then at the end of the course, when you tell them your name, they find you there. Before they give you your stuff back, you have to tell them all the items that you put in the pouch, because they just want to make sure that no one's stealing your stuff. The other reason why I bring this up is because there are some people out there who think that this is a cult. They haven't put forth much effort to look into what really happens at these retreats. They've certainly never gone to one. And they might be out there making videos warning you about the cult, the Vipassana cult, the Goenka cult or whatever. And they're talking about like how you can't have your stuff with you. None of that's true. It's not a cult. You're not anyone's prisoner, and you don't have to give them your stuff. If you want to keep your wallet, your car keys, your cell phone, whatever else with you in your room, you can. No one is forcing you to give over your possessions. It's just there to make sure that the stuff is safe and also to reduce the amount of distractions you might have. You're not supposed to have communication with the outside world. It's not to control your mind. You're not being brainwashed. They're not trying to get you to do anything that's unethical. It's purely for the benefit of being able to go deeper into your mind. And we can talk about this more in another video. But I will just say, generally speaking, since we're on the topic, I'm veering off a little bit, but it might be worth taking this this tangent. You'll see when you get on the course that as the days pass and as the hours pass, when you sit to meditate, it's very easy for you to go deep in your mind because you haven't been occupied with all of the thoughts and like mental activity that comes with like in your normal life. You're having conversations with people, you're watching the news, you're online, you're on social media, there's a lot of information coming at you. And then after you've turned off the TV or after you've like left that conversation, maybe you're in the shower, you're alone with yourself, your thoughts will go back to all the things that you've recently experienced. You might be thinking of a conversation you had with somebody and now you're like thinking, oh, I should have said this. Or maybe you're replaying something in your mind that you saw. Maybe you're worried about wars that are going on or whatever. So it keeps your brain activity very active, and it keeps your neocortex active. But when you do this meditation work, the idea is to transcend your analytical mind and go deep into the operating system of your brain, your subconscious. If you eliminate all of the distractions and you're not having conversations with people, you're not seeing the news, you're not being triggered by anything that's all these horrendous things that might be happening in the world around you. You're just there with your thoughts. It makes it a lot easier to go deeper into your mind a lot quicker. It's not a cult. It's not about mind control. The way the Course is set up and designed is for your benefit so that you can get the most out of this experience and affect the most positive change within yourself. It's all good. So don't be worried about like handing over your stuff and your cell phone and your car keys. They're not going through your phone. It's locked up. It's safe. So that's it. I guess I left the scary stuff for the end, but it's not scary at all. I hope you have a really great course. I hope this was helpful for you, and I hope that if you do take the course, that you come back here and let me know how it went by leaving a comment below, because I'm doing this to help people. I'm doing this because I've received great benefit from it. Taking the course is one of the best things I've ever done for myself in my whole life, and I just want to pay it forward. So thank you for watching, and hopefully you can peruse some of my other videos and see if there's other stuff there that can also help you. Thanks.